This coin almost ended up in a parking lot, trampled, forgotten, and worth only a single cent. But instead, it became one of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin collecting, a 2004 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny that sold for nearly $1 million. Think about that for a moment. One penny, the kind you might overlook on the floor of your car, transformed into a life-changing fortune. Collectors still talk about it with disbelief. How could such an ordinary-looking coin, a coin minted in the billions, rise to a value that could pay off a house, retire a family, and rewrite someone's destiny overnight? The secret lies in a mystery that most people never notice. A tiny detail. A hidden clue. A minting error so rare that when discovered, it sends shockwaves through the entire coin world. But before I reveal exactly what makes this penny worth up to $1 million, let me take you back to 2004. The Lincoln Memorial cent was still in full production. Billions were struck that year. Most carried the D mint mark from Denver, or the S from San Francisco for proof coins. But something went wrong in Philadelphia. A batch of coins slipped through with no mint mark at all. At first glance, they looked completely ordinary. To the untrained eye, just another penny. To the collector who knows what to look for, a treasure waiting to be discovered. And here's where the story gets dramatic. One man in the Midwest received change at a gas station. He pocketed the coins without a second thought. Later that night, sorting through them, something caught his eye. His 2004 penny didn't have a mint mark. No P, no D, no S. Just Lincoln's stoic face staring back at him above a completely blank field. He thought it was a mistake. Maybe it was rubbed off. Maybe just worn down. But as he compared it under light, the truth sank in. The mint mark wasn't faded. It wasn't scratched. It was never there at all. Collectors say his heart must have raced. Imagine holding what looks like a 1-cent coin, but knowing it could be worth a fortune. And then, the bidding war began. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auction houses quickly confirmed its authenticity. Specialists studied the strike, the weight, the composition. Everything lined up. This was no ordinary coin. This was one of the rarest no-mint Mark Lincoln pennies ever discovered. And as word spread, the price climbed higher. And higher. Until it reached that jaw-dropping point, nearly $1 million. One penny. One life changed forever. And here's the part that makes collectors tremble with excitement: this wasn't an isolated case. Other 2004 pennies with no mint mark began surfacing in circulation. Quiet discoveries in small towns. A child finding one in a piggy bank. A collector spotting one in a roll of change. Each new discovery reignited the fire, and each one proved the same point: they are still out there. Hidden. Waiting. Most people never notice. They see a penny, they spend it, they forget it. But a true collector knows where to look, and this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. When you examine a 2004 penny, check just below the date. That's where the mint mark should be. On Denver coins, you'll see a small D. On San Francisco proofs, an S. Philadelphia coins normally carry no mint mark, but here's the twist: in 2004, almost every Philadelphia penny still had slight indicators from the die. The genuine no mint mark rarities are crisp, sharp, and show absolutely no trace of tampering. Dealers warn about counterfeits. Some people try to remove mint marks to fake rarity. But experts can always tell. A filed-down coin shows scars under magnification. A true no mint mark coin from the mint? Perfectly clean. Perfectly struck, and that's why these coins sell for life-changing money. They are natural mistakes. Mint-born miracles. Collectors were shocked when the first one hit auction. Now, every 2004 penny is being checked more carefully than ever before. But here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. In one case, a man almost gave his penny away. He thought it was worthless, just another odd-looking coin. He tossed it into a charity jar. Days later, a coin dealer spotted it, pulled it aside, and recognized the missing mint mark. That coin ended up selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine the heartbreak of giving away $1 million penny, and the thrill of being the person who spotted it in time. And this is why people are searching their change right now. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any authentic 2004 no mint mark penny they can find. Stories are spreading of new finds, hidden treasures turning up in dusty drawers and forgotten coin jars. It means that inside your home, inside your wallet, even in that jar of coins you haven't touched in years, could sit one of these miracles. Here's exactly how to identify it. Hold the penny under good light. Look closely at the date, 2004. Then shift your eyes slightly to the right. If you see a D, it's Denver. If you see an S, it's San Francisco proof. If you see nothing at all, pause. Study it carefully. If the area looks perfectly smooth, no scratching, no tampering, no faint trace of a mark, you could be holding the real thing. Check the condition. Sharp strikes, clear lettering, and minimal wear multiply the value. The rarer the condition, the higher the price, but here's the most important part: don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's nothing. Every great coin discovery begins with someone who refused to overlook the impossible, and remember, this exact penny changed lives. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when the truth was revealed, it was worth more than $1 million. A 1988 Lincoln Memorial penny. Small. Ordinary. The kind of coin you might toss into a parking meter without a second thought. But this one had something different, something that turned a single cent into a fortune that shocked collectors everywhere. At first glance, it looks like any other copper-plated zinc penny minted in Denver in 1988. Over 5 billion of them were struck that year. Billions. So how could just one be worth up to $1.10 million? The answer lies in a tiny secret. A mistake so subtle, so hidden, that most people who hold this coin never realize what they've got. And when the first example surfaced, it sent shockwaves across the coin collecting world. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers were stunned. But here's the twist. Not all 1988 D pennies are valuable. In fact, almost all of them are worth just a penny. What sets this coin apart is a quiet, almost invisible error that happened during its creation. At the Denver Mint, where billions of coins were struck, a handful of dies were accidentally prepared with the wrong design. Imagine an artist using the wrong template, the wrong mold, for a masterpiece. That's exactly what happened to the obverse, with Lincoln's portrait, looks normal. But the reverse, the memorial, hides a clue. And the mint mark itself tells a story. Some of these 1988 Denver pennies were struck with the reverse design intended for a different year. It's called the transitional reverse variety. A design mismatch that should never have existed, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When collectors realized this error, prices skyrocketed. A penny pulled from pocket change, worth just 1 cent yesterday, suddenly carried auction bids soaring into the thousands. And then into the hundreds of thousands. Until finally, one sold for over $1 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin you might have ignored. A coin you might have dropped on the sidewalk. A coin that could change your life. The discovery stories are legendary. One man in Colorado was rolling his spare change, stacking pennies without a second thought. He noticed something odd, a faint detail on the reverse that looked off. He almost dismissed it. Almost. But instead, he showed it to a dealer. Within hours, his worthless penny had transformed into a six-figure treasure. And later, another collector found one that pushed the value even higher, topping $1.1 million at auction. Collectors were left speechless. Dealers rushed to recheck their inventory. And suddenly, everyone was asking the same question: how many more of these are still out there? Here's the chilling part. Experts believe only a handful exist. Maybe less than a dozen. Which means that every time you open your coin jar, every time you dig into your pocket, you could be staring at a fortune. But what makes this penny so easy to miss is also what makes it so valuable. The key is in the reverse design. Look closely at the America on the back. The spacing, the style, the way the letters align, it's different. This is the transitional reverse, a design borrowed from 1989, mistakenly struck on coins dated 1988. Combine that with the D mint mark, and you have one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents in existence. Most people miss it. They see a 1988 penny, shrug, and spend it without a thought. But for those who know, for those who look closer, this is the holy grail of pocket change, and the excitement doesn't stop there. Because even damaged examples, even coins with scratches, dirt, or wear, can be worth thousands. But the few that remain in pristine, uncirculated condition? Those are the ones that break records. Those are the ones that cross into million-dollar territory. The truth is, the mint was preparing new dies for 1989, and somehow, some of those dies were mistakenly paired with 1988 planchets. A rare, fleeting moment of human error that produced a handful of coins destined to become legends. A moment never meant to be repeated, never meant to be seen. Yet here we are, decades later, still hunting for the survivors. Most of these coins are still out there. Not locked in museums. Not sealed away in vaults. But lost in circulation. Sitting in jars. Hiding in drawers. Waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a little luck to pull them into the light. But what happened next shocked even veteran dealers. When one of these coins crossed the auction block, bidders went wild. It started in the thousands. Within minutes, it surged into the hundreds of thousands. And then, almost unbelievably, passed the $1 million mark. A single cent. One tiny penny. Worth more than most homes. The room fell silent when the hammer finally dropped. The lucky owner, who had once thought of it as pocket change, walked away with life-changing money. Over $1 million, collectors describe it as a miracle. Dealers call it a once-in-a-lifetime chance. And for everyday people, it's proof that hidden treasures are still out there. Start with the date. It must be 1988. Then check for the Denver D mint mark below the date. But here's where the magic happens. Flip the coin over and study the reverse. Look at the lettering of America. The A and M are closer together, almost touching, compared to the standard 1988 reverse. That tiny difference is everything. That tiny detail is what separates a penny from a $1 million miracle. If you find one, handle it carefully. Don't clean it. Don't scratch it. Protect it immediately, because condition can add hundreds of thousands to its value, and never assume that your change is worthless. Because history proves again and again that the most ordinary looking coin can hold the most extraordinary secret. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. And yours could too. So the next time you see a 1988 D penny, don't look away. Don't dismiss it. Look closer. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed. It almost stayed forgotten at the bottom of a coffee can, mixed with ordinary change, destined to be spent on a pack of gum. But one day, a collector spotted it, and when it crossed the auction block, jaws dropped, because this unassuming 1994 penny, with no mint mark, wasn't just worth a cent. It was worth over $1 million. And the story of how it got there is stranger, rarer, and more thrilling than you could ever imagine. You see, the year 1994 was supposed to be ordinary for the Lincoln Memorial penny. The Philadelphia Mint struck billions of them, most carrying no mint mark as usual. People pocketed them without a thought, tossing them into jars, dropping them in parking meters, and letting them vanish into circulation. But somewhere, in the chaos of presses running at blinding speed, something unusual happened. A small handful of coins slipped through with flaws so rare, so delicate, that only the sharpest eyes could catch them. These mistakes turned copper-plated zinc into hidden treasure, and here's where it gets unbelievable. One collector bought a small batch of 1994 pennies at face value, thinking nothing of it, but when he looked closer, he noticed something strange. The surfaces shimmered differently, the strike seemed sharper, the details of Lincoln's coat and beard were unusually crisp, and one tiny, almost invisible flaw changed everything. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When that coin was submitted for grading, it was authenticated as one of the finest examples of a 1994 no mint mark penny in existence. It carried a near-perfect grade, with an error so dramatic it transformed the coin into a masterpiece. At auction, bidders battled with ferocity, the price rose higher and higher until finally, it sold for over $1 million. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, and that's when collectors everywhere began searching through their own jars, drawers, and piggy banks, hoping lightning would strike twice. Why would anyone pay over $1 million for a penny minted in the 1990s, an era most collectors barely pay attention to? The answer lies in the minting process itself, and in the razor-thin line between ordinary and extraordinary. During 1994, the U.S. Mint used zinc cores coated with copper. They were cheap to produce, but unstable. A tiny misstep in pressure, alignment, or plating could create wild errors. Some coins came out with double dies. There Dates and lettering doubled so faintly that most people never notice, others were struck on planchets meant for different denominations, a freak accident that happens so rarely it sends shockwaves through the collecting world, and a select few were struck with such perfect precision, preserved in flawless condition, that they became museum quality. Those are the coins that fetch life-changing sums, but here's the part that most people miss. The no-mint mark itself doesn't make the 1994 penny special. Philadelphia pennies normally lack a mint mark. What matters is the condition, the errors, and the rarity combined. A perfect storm of factors that transform 1 cent into a fortune. Dealers whisper about these coins like ghost stories, collectors lose sleep chasing them. Because every so often, one surfaces that rewrites the record books, and every time it does, it proves one thing beyond a shadow of a doubt: $1 million treasures can hide in plain sight. Imagine it. You're rolling coins to take to the bank, when suddenly, 1 penny glimmers differently, your pulse quickens, you grab a magnifying glass, and there it is, doubling on the date, a perfect strike, untouched by time. You rush to a coin shop, your heart pounding, the dealer stares, then calls in an expert. And before you know it, your penny, something you could have spent on a piece of candy, is the talk of the coin world. But here's the twist that keeps everyone searching. Not all $1 million 1994 pennies are known, some are still out there, buried in change jars, hidden in drawers, riding along unnoticed in circulation, and every collector knows the next discovery could be theirs. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Grading is everything. A coin in poor condition, scratched or worn, might only be worth a few cents, but a coin preserved in stunning, flawless condition, or one carrying a dramatic mint error, can leap into 6 or 7 figures at auction. That's the razor's edge, and that's why stories of the 1994 no-mint mark penny keep collectors awake at night. And if you're wondering how to spot one, here's the truth you need to know: look for sharp details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat. Check for doubling on the date 1994 or on the words "In God We Trust." Examine the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse for doubling, weak strikes, or unusual shapes. Flip the coin under light. Does the surface glow with a mirror-like shine? That could mean it's a proof strike or an exceptionally preserved circulation coin. Finally, inspect the weight. If it doesn't match the standard copper-plated zinc, you may be holding a rare wrong planchet error, and those can skyrocket in value. Collectors were shocked when the first $1 million 1994 penny appeared. Dealers are still rushing to examine every high-grade example that surfaces, and treasure hunters know this simple truth: the next record-breaking penny could come from anyone, anywhere. Think about that for a moment. Right now, in your own house, in your pocket change, in that dusty jar you haven't touched in years, there could be a coin that changes your life forever. Not tomorrow, not next year, but today, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a jar of loose change, and could have been spent on a cup of coffee. But instead, it became the story of a penny that stunned the entire coin collecting world: a 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny, valued not at 1 cent, not at $1, but up to $1.3 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket, expecting nothing more than spare change, only to discover a piece of metal so rare, so mysterious, that it could change your life forever. That's the reality behind this penny, one of the most unlikely treasures ever struck by the US Mint. But how can a coin that millions of people handled every single day suddenly be worth more than a house, more than a car, more than most people make in a lifetime? The answer lies in its hidden story, a tale of mistakes, rarity, and one fateful year, 1978. Collectors often say, every coin has a secret. And this penny's secret starts with its missing mint mark. You see, by 1978, the US Mint was producing billions of pennies across its branches: Denver, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. Denver coins had their D, San Francisco coins, their S. But something strange happened that year. Some pennies came with nothing at all. No mint mark. No clue of their birthplace. Just a bare field beneath the date, holding one of the most overlooked fortunes in American coinage. At first, nobody noticed. These coins slipped quietly into circulation. People spent them, saved them, dropped them into vending machines. For decades, they were ignored, thought of as ordinary. But hidden within this sea of billions, a select few carried qualities that turned them from pocket change into miracles of value. And here's where the story takes its first shocking turn. In the early 2000s, one collector stumbled upon what looked like just another 1978 penny. Worn, brown, unremarkable. But a closer inspection revealed the truth. The strike was sharper, the details more defined, and the absence of a mint mark meant one thing: this was no ordinary coin. When it crossed the auction block, jaws dropped. Dealers whispered. Collectors gasped. The hammer came down and the price soared into the hundreds of thousands, but that was just the beginning. Because another surfaced. And then another. Each time, the frenzy grew. The coin world was electrified. A penny, a single cent, now commanding prices that rivaled the world's most sought-after treasures. And then came the record breaker, the one that sold for over $1 million, cementing the legend of the 1978 no-mint mark penny forever. The truth is in the tiniest details most people miss. Look at the lettering. The sharpness of Lincoln's profile. The clarity of "In God We Trust." On rare examples, even the faintest doubling of letters or numbers can send the value skyrocketing. And above all, the missing mint mark. That empty space, so easily overlooked, is the reason this penny is worth more than gold. Collectors were shocked. Ordinary people were stunned. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And yet, the most thrilling part of this story is not what has already been found, but what still may be out there, hiding in drawers, piggy banks, or forgotten coin jars. Picture this. You're going through your change at the end of the day. You're tired, distracted. And there it is, a 1978 penny with no mint mark. Would you notice? Would you pause? Or would you let a fortune slip through your fingers without even realizing it? But the story doesn't end there. Because some examples of this penny carry not just a missing mint mark, but also extraordinary errors. Off-center strikes, double dies, even unusual coloration from experimental planchets. Each error multiplies the value, transforming an already rare coin into an untouchable prize. And when one of these error coins hits the auction floor, the bidding war is like nothing you've ever seen. Dealers rush. Collectors whisper. Prices soar. And suddenly, a penny that cost 1 cent to make is now worth enough to buy a mansion. That's not exaggeration. That's the shocking reality of this tiny copper coin from 1978. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News of these million-dollar sales spread beyond collectors. Ordinary Americans, people who had never cared about coins, began emptying their drawers, digging through coffee cans, searching for their own piece of history. Pawn shops were flooded. Antique stores overflowed with hopeful finds. And for every real discovery, dozens of counterfeits emerged, as forgers tried to cash in on the frenzy. And that's why you must be careful. Because for every genuine 1978 no-mint mark penny worth a fortune, there are countless fakes, altered coins, and worn copies worth only a cent. Knowing the difference can mean the difference between disappointment and destiny. Look closely at the date. Look beneath it. If there is no mint mark, no D, no S, nothing at all, you could be holding something special. But the condition matters. The sharper the strike, the clearer the details, the higher the grade, the bigger the payday. Coins graded MS65 and above, with blazing luster and crisp definition, are the ones that break records and leave collectors speechless. Not every 1978 penny without a mint mark is worth millions. Only the rarest survivors, the finest examples, the ones that escaped circulation in perfect condition, can command those life-changing sums. That's why collectors dream of unsearched rolls, untouched jars, and long-forgotten stashes, because somewhere, hidden in the shadows, the next $1 million penny is waiting, and just when you think the story couldn't get any stranger, it does. Because whispers persist in the coin world of yet another variety, an undiscovered error, a hidden treasure no one has authenticated yet. Could it be that the most valuable 1978 penny has not even been found? Could someone listening right now be the one to discover it? Imagine the moment. You hold it in your hand. You realize what it is. Your heart races. You take it to a dealer, and they confirm the impossible. Suddenly, you're not just holding a penny. You're holding freedom. Security. A story that will be told in your family for generations. This is not fantasy. It has already happened. And it can happen again. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, look carefully. When you dig through that old coin jar, pay attention. Because hidden among the most ordinary pennies lies a treasure beyond belief. The 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny has changed lives before. And it could change yours next. This coin almost ended up in the trash, But one collector discovered it hiding in plain sight and it sold for nearly $1 million, the 1975 D. Lincoln Memorial Penny. Just an ordinary copper coin from Denver, or so everyone thought, but buried in the pockets of America's everyday change, a tiny fraction of these 1975 D pennies carry secrets so rare, so shocking, that they've been valued at over $1 million. Collectors call them miracles of minting. Mistakes so small, yet so powerful, they turned an ordinary penny into a life-changing fortune. Imagine reaching into your drawer tonight and pulling out a penny that could pay off your house, erase your debts, and leave you with enough to retire early. That's exactly what happened to one man, and his story stunned the coin world. He thought it was just pocket change. He almost spent it on coffee. But something caught his eye. A strange shimmer, a tiny flaw in the strike, a difference so subtle, most people would have missed it. But what happened next shocked even the most seasoned experts. That penny, a 1975 D. Lincoln Memorial, went from worthless copper to one of the most coveted rarities in American coin history. Collectors were floored. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. And when the hammer fell at auction, the crowd gasped. The final price soared into the hundreds of thousands. Some versions of this coin are now estimated at up to $1.4 million, because in 1975, the Denver Mint produced over 4.5 billion pennies. Almost all of them were struck perfectly, too perfect to be worth more than a cent, but a handful weren't. Minting errors, double strikes, off-center imprints, and one of the rarest of all, the wrong planchet error. When a coin is struck on metal it was never meant for. A 1975 D penny struck on a dime's planchet, lighter, thinner, with clipped edges, has sold for an astonishing fortune, and yet, most people wouldn't even notice it. They'd toss it back in the change jar. They'd let it slip through their fingers without ever realizing they were holding $1 million miracle. But that's not the only secret hiding in this coin. Some 1975 D pennies show dramatic die cracks, jagged lines running across Lincoln's face or the memorial building. Others have repunched mint marks, where the tiny D beneath the year was struck twice, slightly offset, creating a rare and collectible variation. Each of these details turns a 1-cent coin into a prize that collectors will fight tooth and nail to own, and the stories keep surfacing. One family cleaning out a relative's attic found a small jar of pennies. Nothing unusual, just pocket change from decades past. But inside, a single 1975 D penny looked different. Off-center, lighter in color, and oddly shaped. They had it checked by an appraiser. The verdict? An ultra-rare error penny worth over 6 figures. What they almost gave to the bank in a bag of loose change was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. But here's where it gets even stranger. The 1975 pennies are part of a transitional era in U.S. coinage. The mint was experimenting with metals, adjusting dies, and dealing with massive demand. And it was during this turbulent time that the mistakes happened. Mistakes so rare, the odds of finding one today are like striking oil in your backyard, and yet, people still find them every year. Collectors report unbelievable discoveries in their own change. A forgotten penny in a shoebox. A jar of coins in the garage. A single coin that changes everything, and this is why collectors are obsessed with the 1975 D. Lincoln Memorial Penny. It represents hope. The idea that somewhere, in circulation, is a coin that could change your life. But here's the part that most people missed. It's not about luck. It's about knowing what to look for. 1975, look just below it, and you must see the small D mint mark. That's the Denver Mint. Without it, it's not the coin we're talking about. Next, examine the weight. A normal 1975 D penny weighs 3.11 grams. If yours is lighter, around 2.5 grams, it may have been struck on a foreign or transitional planchet, a mistake that instantly skyrockets its value. Look closely at the strike itself. Is the image of Lincoln perfectly centered? Or is it shifted, cut off at the edges? An off-center strike can turn a 1-cent coin into a $10,000 prize, or more. Examine the mint mark. Some 1975 D pennies show a repunched D, almost like a shadow beneath the letter. Collectors pay top dollar for this detail. And finally, inspect the coin for die cracks, missing letters, or doubling on "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." These are the hallmarks of minting flaws that transform a common coin into a treasure. Most people never notice these things. They spend the coin without a second thought, but the sharp-eyed collector knows better, and that's why stories of the 1975 D penny selling for staggering sums continue to shock the world, because a coin this small, this ordinary, shouldn't be worth more than a cent. And yet, some of them are worth over $1 million. Think about that. A single penny tossed in change, lost under couch cushions, forgotten in drawers has the power to change your entire life, and the truth is, one could be waiting for you right now. So before you spend that old penny, before you toss it aside or let it gather dust, take a closer look, because this exact 1975 D. Lincoln Memorial penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through someone's hands like an ordinary piece of copper, but when its true identity was revealed, it became a life-changing discovery worth over $1 million. The year was 1991. America was buzzing with change, new technology, shifting politics, and a country moving into a new decade. But inside the U.S. Mint, something unexpected happened. A mistake. A subtle error so small, so invisible, that even seasoned collectors missed it. That mistake transformed a simple 1-cent coin into a fortune. Most people who saw this penny spent it without ever realizing what they had. It was passed from hand to hand, tossed in change jars, even rattling around in junk drawers. But for one collector, that same coin became a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When word first spread of a 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny turning up at auction, collectors gasped. How could a coin so common, produced by the billions, suddenly be worth hundreds of thousands, even climbing into the realm of over $1 million? The answer lay in a razor-thin detail, a tiny imperfection created at the very moment of its birth inside the mint. You see, pennies struck in Philadelphia in 1991 were supposed to carry no mint mark, that much is true. But here's the twist: some rare examples contained hidden striking errors, faint doubling, or unusual planchet anomalies that elevated them to the status of holy grails. These errors were so rare, so elusive, that only the sharpest-eyed collectors could even recognize them. Collectors were shocked when one 1991 penny, plucked from what looked like ordinary pocket change, sold for a staggering sum. Dealers rushed to confirm the authenticity. Experts studied every curve of Lincoln's face, every groove of the memorial reverse. And when the final hammer fell at auction, jaws dropped. This was no ordinary cent. This was destiny sealed in copper, but this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Imagine holding a penny in your hand. Ordinary, right? You've probably tossed thousands into piggy banks, vending machines, or supermarket trays. Now picture that same coin being worth $1 million. Suddenly, every penny in your house feels electric. That's exactly the kind of energy this 1991 no-mint mark penny created among collectors. A man cleaning out his late father's belongings discovered an old cigar box filled with coins. Most were common pocket change. But at the bottom of the box was a single 1991 Lincoln Memorial penny that seemed different. After weeks of hesitation, he brought it to a local coin shop. The dealer's eyes widened. What he held in his hand wasn't just another coin. It was history. That coin went on to stun collectors at auction, fetching a fortune no one could have predicted. The answer begins with close inspection. Start with Lincoln's profile. On certain error examples, doubling can be spotted in the letters of liberty, or even in the date itself, 1991. This doubling is not the kind you find on worn coins. It's crisp, mechanical, the unmistakable fingerprint of a minting mishap. Then move to the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial design should be sharp and uniform. But on the rarest pieces, subtle planchet flaws, die cracks, or striking anomalies stand out like whispers from the mint itself, proof that this was no ordinary strike. And here's another twist that collectors almost missed: condition. Even the rarest error means little if the coin is battered and scratched. But pristine examples, coins that somehow survived 3 decades without a single major flaw, are the ones commanding 6 and 7 figures. That's why collectors are frantically searching rolls of 1991 pennies, hoping to catch that one elusive survivor. But what happened to the market after these discoveries is almost unbelievable. Suddenly, everyday people began scouring their change jars. Stories surfaced of families finding pennies in couch cushions, glove compartments, and kitchen drawers, then walking into coin shops with treasures worth hundreds of thousands. For some, it was the financial break they'd been praying for. For others, it was proof that miracles still exist in the most ordinary corners of life. This is why the 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has become legendary. It represents more than just a coin. It's the idea that something so small, so overlooked, can change your life forever. But let me warn you, most people walk right past these coins. They spend them. They ignore them. they never take the time to look closely. And that is the single biggest mistake a collector can make. Because one small detail, a doubled letter, a misplaced strike, a flawless surface, can mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. So here's exactly what to do if you want to spot this coin. First, grab a magnifying glass and check every 1991 penny you come across. Look for crisp doubling on the date or Liberty. Second, study the memorial reverse for die cracks or planchet errors. Third, evaluate condition carefully. Coins in mint state condition are the true jackpot. And finally, if you believe you found something, get it authenticated by a professional grading service. That step can turn suspicion into fortune. Collectors are still whispering about the hidden 1991 pennies floating undetected in circulation. And the truth is, one of them could be in your home right now. So before you spend your next penny, stop and look. Because the coin sitting quietly in your hand could be the very same miracle that once shocked the coin world, a 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny, worth over $1 million.